It's Hearthstone Grandmasters. We're here in the Americas region, 2 series down and 3 still to go. My name is Falcone. To my left is still Language Hacker. You having a good day, Language Hacker?
I was, but now your intro there was a bit lackluster compared to what we had at
the
the start
amazing
of the day.
World Championship
Fabulous.
contender, Fabulous.
Oh, stop.
Better?
It's fine. Yeah, thanks.
Happy now? Yeah.
I'm kind of excited to see this this matchup we have next. We have mid-range Hunter versus OTK Paladin.
Yeah, this is one we've also played with quite a bit over the last couple of days. Let's take a look at what we've got coming up. Eddie is playing OTK Paladin. Yes, the Elven Archers are there for that little bit of extra damage as we've been seeing recently. Shivala the Tiger, Baleful Banker, and Holy Wrath going to be the name of the game. Hopefully won't be seeing what we saw earlier on. I think it was it Viper that ended up with a stranded 25 mana pad. Holy Wrath,
Holy
that's
Wrath,
the one.
there you go.
Holy Wrath. I was like, a panda? I don't know where that was coming from. Holy Wrath in his hand, yeah.
Nothing too crazy in this list. We just have Acolyte in here. No soup vendors. We've seen some people opt to have a soup vendor to help with some draw. We got some interesting side decks, but not anything I think we'll see Eddie switch to.
Shall we take a look and see what Eddie is up against? It's going to be StrifeCro on the Beast.
Beast Hunter, that's what we're calling it.
We're calling it Beast. I was going to say mid-range as well. I had a little bit of...
I get them mixed up, it's fine.
They're essentially the same thing. We
It's
call
a
it Beast Hunter
beasts.
because of the Master's Call. That's pretty much the reason we call it that. But yes, very tempo-y, mid-rangey game style. Hunter wants to do things to the board, overtake the board. Zul'jin is the big bomb later on for a last-ditch effort to win the game. And of course, Dire Frenzy, very key in this deck as well.
Yeah, it can help a lot. You can shuffle cheap things in to have a lot of burst damage later on with Tundra Rhino, or you can just shuffle bigger things in to just have big things. One of the things that the Hunter can do against this matchup is just be very aggressive, play out a 1-drop, 2-drop, etc. These Paladin decks aren't running stuff like Doomsayer, they're not running early taunts or ways to fight for the board. The only way they can actually deal with stuff is Wild Pyro or big clears, but at turn 4, they can start whipping out the True Silver Champions and Hammer of Wraths. But if you have 1, 2, 3, that damage adds up quite a bit, and even with the True Silver being equipped, you still push all that damage because they're only clearing 1 minute at a time. So
that's right.
In practice, we found that, Falcone and I, we found that just having a curve early is one of the best ways you can actually just beat up the Paladin before they can get to what they need.
Double Dire Frenzy in the opening hand is very interesting. Something that I think I heard Gallon saying earlier on during EU Grandmasters is that you don't want to play the Dire Frenzy really until you've drawn Zul'jin, because when you play Dire Frenzy, it makes that Zul'jin a little bit harder to find. But if you do draw all 3, that's ideal.
Sometimes you can hold the Dire Frenzies in hand if you have other reasonable plays, because, like you said, it dilutes the rest of your deck to where you can't find your super powerful cards. But in a matchup like this, where you want to literally push as much damage as you can as fast as possible, and just it's similar to like how we've seen other people play aggressive rogue decks versus Cyclo Mage. They don't want to give their opponents enough time to get to their sort of endgame fancy turns. And in this game, Eddie's fancy turn is going to be when his deck is empty and he just launches 25 damage into StrifeCro's face. So StrifeCro wants to make sure that doesn't happen.
It's quite a fancy turn, that.
Yeah, it's fancy. It makes a big noise. There's a big... It's
like,
nice.
imagine Pyroblast, but it only costs 5 mana.
And it does 2.5 times damage.
That's a good deal. Take that deal.
It's not bad. I mean, they nerfed Pyroblast from 10 to 8 mana.
That's true.
Sorry, 8 to 8. Wait, is 8 to 10? Is that what I said? I thought I said 10 to 8.
It was 8 mana.
Yeah, there we go.
Now it's 10 mana. Yeah, StrifeCro going to be just attacking this board as quickly as possible. I mean, it might be worth considering coining out the Dire Frenzy here, despite what I said about Zul'jin earlier.
Yep.
Just because this turn looks so good with the Dire Frenzy, it's just hard to justify holding it back.
It's good for a couple of reasons. One, StrifeCro can push, like, it basically translates Dire Frenzy into +3 damage this turn, but it also means that, you know, cheaper minions later can be picked up to play out. But it also prevents Eddie from equipping a True Silver Champion and killing off the buffed Vicious Scale Hide.
Yeah. This is very difficult.
Now Eddie has to think, okay, how does he deal with this? Obviously, True Silver doesn't kill the Scale Hide. Does he take a tempo swing at it? No, he decides to hold. With only Beasts in the deck, StrifeCro is not running weapon removal, so Eddie doesn't have to be scared of anything.
Yeah, next turn Eddie can use the Holy Wrath or the Hammer in order to weaken the Vicious Scale Hide. But
basically
still kind of awkward. It's still kind of slow. And look at that second Dire Frenzy.
And that's the thing. It's kind of Eddie winces a little bit. It's difficult because StrifeCro will draw. These won't be 7/9 Vicious Scale Hides. When you apply 2 Dire Frenzies to the same target, it still only shuffles one singular buffed minions back in the deck. It means that StrifeCro will have, on average, more Scale Hides drawn instead of some of the other stuff you might want. But even the 2-mana 4/6 is kind of just fine. But I do believe just not letting up on pressure. Sometimes you can weave in hero powers instead of playing like a Dire Frenzy. But I do like StrifeCro translating the Dire Frenzy into damage here when he's able to.
Yep.
And we can see Eddie, it's turn 5, he's at 18 health.
It's true. However, one of the things that definitely did come up as we were practicing yesterday is that Paladin can heal astounding amounts.
Yeah, especially with Crystal Smith Kangor.
Exactly.
Healing is doubled.
Ideally, Eddie needs to get to the point where he's played enough spells where Shivala is playable so that he can slam it down with the Crystal Smith. And really, he wants to play Baleful Banquet on it as well for the real heals. But until then, he's just going to be holding out any way that he can.
I do like StrifeCro picking the Scale Hide from the tracking. Tundra Rhino is a little bit too slow, and it's only 2/5. The Scale Hide play out now, and it lets him either weave in a hero power or develop the Rat Trap. Eddie should know that StrifeCro has only 1 trap in his entire deck. In fact, in any of his decks, and it's exactly Rat Trap.
So, not too difficult to play around.
Yep. Once you know what the secret is, which is the case a lot, in some of these Beast Hunters, people aren't really running that many traps. We've seen some people go for, actually I don't even know if that's in Grandmasters, but on ladder I've seen some people run Subject 9 in a multitude of secrets, but often if you see just this beast-heavy list with only 1 or 2 secrets, it's often just the Rat Traps.
Yep.
So it is quite easy to play around. It can limit your plays to some extent, but if you know what it is, you can just
Eddie's hand
back a little bit.
is quite heavy. Like, you know, unless he's playing 3 2-drops, there's no way that he's triggering that Rat Trap anyway. Crystal Smith Kangor comes down now. True Silver heals for 4, takes 4 damage, so ends up even. Unfortunately for Eddie, Deadly Shot is looking pretty fine
It's
here.
a good way to deal with this, yeah. I do like Eddie playing out the Crystal Smith Kangor last turn with a Hammer of Wrath, clears out the Vicious Scale Hide so repeat damage doesn't come in. And he doesn't have something like Flashlight in hand where he could be incentivized to hold on to the Crystal Smith. He's just playing it at now because he realizes this hand is not doing a whole lot. Even though a 1/2 isn't that much in terms of tempo, it's a target. And if StrifeCro expends resources to try and deal with that target, it takes off some of the pressure on Eddie's life total. Now we see that StrifeCro does have his 1 of Deadly Shot, and it hit what's called Truant. There's a saying there somewhere.
Okay.
Swift and True, or
Does this something to do with 2 feet?
no,
Okay.
no.
That's fine. I just thought you. Don't worry.
I was gonna give it a break for a match or 2. We can get back to the front foot next round.
You just really like your feet.
Which is funny. I don't like dancing that much, but
Oh.
I like sayings. So with the Deadly Shot out of the way, Acolyte of Pain will draw at least 1 card. 1/1's not too threatening, so Eddie is going to just play out his draw cards and say, I mean, we can see that Holy Wrath, Shivala, there's not that much he can really do except for this line.
So Unleash the Hounds plus Timberwolf is 8 damage right now.
Yep.
13 with the kill command. Can't quite afford the hero power there to make that 15. But it shows that StrifeCro is getting quite close. I just said Shivala there because that's my next thought, which is, unfortunately for Eddie, is that it still costs 15. It's not playable yet.
It takes some time. Eddie might have to resort to just playing a Holy Wrath out to A, reduce the cost of Shivala, while B, still cycling.
Do you think StrifeCro is keeping track of exactly how much Shivala costs?
I'm sure. I think StrifeCro is a very particular player. I think he has these sort of things noted a lot. Takes his time, thinks he plays, kind of understands a lot of stuff. The macro, the micro, the Shivala. And I like StrifeCro cashing in on the Unleash damage now. It's unlikely Eddie will be at a point where Unleash gets much better, and if he does, then StrifeCro is probably not in a great spot. So cashing in the Unleash now while weaving in the hero power is very nice.
Timeout gets Eddie to the Shivala turn, because timeout now into Holy Wrath means the next turn that Shivala will be castable for 7.
Yeah. can also be bankered next turn if that is done. So Eddie has to decide if he wants to... He could also go Consecration. There are 2 Unleashed in the deck, so the threat of a second Unleash is possible, but Consecration could be used here with the timeout instead of the Holy Wrath if he so chooses.
I think the timeout is very important this turn.
I think, yeah, I agree. The timeout is kind of important. You're at... Eddie's at 6 health.
I just really like the Holy Wrath for the reason that you just said. For the next turn it means Shivala and Baleful Banker playable together. So Eddie still has that other win condition.
Yep. I like Eddie cleaning up the board here after the timeout. Obviously you take... Oh, he goes face with that one. Is there ever merit to killing off the 1/1 instead? So Eddie's swinging because he drew the second True Silver Champion, so he'll want to equip that and get some more healing off of that. But he might be in such a tough spot that he has to Shivala. I mean, Flash of Light would be an incredibly good... oh, actually, Eddie can still play Prismatic Lens and maintain the cost of Shivala.
That's right, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, things are really starting to look up for Eddie. StrifeCro, such an awkward turn. I guess he has to Mark Shot the Acolyte.
So with Eddie using the Elven Archer earlier, it means the full 30 damage OTK cannot be done. And with so many scale heights in StrifeCro's deck, it's possible Eddie's concerned that StrifeCro could heal out of the 20, 25, or 29 range, meaning that he'd rather swing the True Silver face instead of pulling off a 1/1.
Was there a consideration for StrifeCro that turn to trade in the minions to prevent a rushing Shivala?
Yeah, there was actually.
The
issue with that is he doesn't have anything to activate the kill command.
It doesn't matter.
It still does enough on board.
Yeah.
But that is interesting. Maybe StrifeCro should have taken that line.
And then there's beasts in the deck. There's a lot of vicious Scalhides. Draw a Scalhide double kill command. That's 10. That's lethal even through a True Silver.
It also stops Ziliax as well because that's on the list too.
Right. To me, it's just like in that situation where you can double trade the 1/1s.
Maybe this wasn't, and if StrifeCro's paying attention, Shivala Banker is a possibility this turn, so Eddie could forego one of the Holy Wrath 25 damage bursts just to be able to get the Shivala out. I actually think this might have been a misplay from StrifeCro. I'm trying to think.
I mean, I'm being incredibly biased here looking at it because as we can see, there's no flash of light.
I mean, sure. The thing is, Eddie has 7 cards left in.
Like, I am using the caster vision here, very...
Actually, with 7 cards left in the deck, maybe that doesn't make too much sense.
But...
Actually, no. I think StrifeCro can make a read. At least the left 6 or so, or 7 cards aren't Flash of Light because Eddie would have used that with a Crystal Smith Kangor.
Yeah, that's right.
That's very interesting. I was actually going to propose early he Mark Shot his own minion as well, but he ended up doing that anyways.
So it turns out this wouldn't have been lethal through True Silver regardless because Master's Call was too expensive to play with the 1-drop and the kill commands. So it would have been...
Actually, yeah, there's just way too many ways. The True Silver, Ziliax... actually, although Ziliax and Shivala would not have been able to attack if there were no minions, but True Silver, Holy Wrath... it's not Holy Wrath. I want to say Holy Light. True Silver, Flash of Light, and... Timeout all would have been ways to heal back up, and Prismatic Lens by extension was also likely to be able to give him a way to heal back up.
However, now Freezing Trap. Given that StrifeCro deals with the Ziliax as well, Freezing Trap just stops Shivala.
Yeah.
Stop. There's no way Eddie is Shivala and StrifeCro this turn. It's not possible. So StrifeCro has time.
StrifeCro has bought some time here, yeah. For himself to be able to push some more damage.
Yes.
There's the Flash of Light.
Yeah, you're right. When talking about him having time, it's weird because
yeah.
it makes it sound like Eddie is the aggressive deck. Clearly, that's not the case. However, Eddie's healing available to him will aggressively prevent StrifeCro from dealing enough damage to Eddie to win.
Yeah, Eddie does also have hand size. Well, the thing is, the Freezing Trap and the Shivala won't do too much. If Eddie goes for a play like Prismatic Lens, Flash of Light, the Shivala could be cheap enough to play, but not to be played with a banker and then replayed. You'd have to get the Shivala at, let's say, -2, so you'd have to play 9 mana worth of cards this turn, which wouldn't be enough to let you banker as well.
That's true. I hadn't thought about replaying the Shivala after the Freezing Trap. That's interesting.
Okay.
2 mana Shrink Ray. Interesting.
It's not bad. You have the Pyro.
Move quickly.
There's not that much damage. That's so 1, 2, 3, and Eddie can also play the Flash of Light to proc the Rat Trap as well. I like this a lot. So getting the Shrink Ray swap with the Pyromancer here allows Eddie to go Flash of Light, Pyromancer, proc the Rat Trap, deal with everything all at once with a Shrink Ray, and at 20 health, technically 22, Eddie's very safe. And there's nothing left on the board for StrifeCro to heal with. And we've also seen the Tundra Rhino been tracking over, so even with the Scale Hides, StrifeCro can't heal out of the Holy Wrath range.
So, just before we saw that draw,
yeah,
I was going to say to you, I have a little bit of a puzzle for you.
Okay.
Going into turn 10 as StrifeCro right now, would you prefer to see 2 mana 4/6 Vicious Scale Hide or a Zul'jin?
Let's think. So we haven't seen Animal Companion. We haven't seen Unleash the Hounds. We haven't. Oh, we did see Unleash the Hounds, but it wouldn't be activated by Zul'jin. We've seen a tracking.
Mark Shot.
We've seen a Master's Call. I don't think you'd be sad to see a Zul'jin. It doesn't do a whole lot for you, but it does something at least.
Right. However, because of all of the extra shuffling that's gone on,
yeah,
it's so unlikely that StrifeCro gets it.
True. It's much harder to get it when you have 6 extra Scale Hides in there. Well, 5 now, maybe 4.
Regardless, the Scale Hides are looking like StrifeCro needs the healing from them, and it's not going to happen because of the timeout.
Timeout prevents the healing.
Eddie just going to deal 25 damage combo next turn.
And there's no way for StrifeCro to heal out of it either. Eddie finding even more ways to just optimize how much damage he can push if for some reason something goes wrong, which I don't think it can, by weaving in the Consecration here for some extra damage burst in case StrifeCro finds some weird way to heal.
Yeah, there's no way that's going into the minion to give StrifeCro the healing. Not going to happen.
And it wouldn't heal anyways with the timeout.
Oh,
but yeah.
Well, there you go. StrifeCro picks up Shimmerfly. I mean,
Eddie can still
he can kill command.
mistake the yeah. If Eddie misorders, then perhaps StrifeCro can win.
Oh, by playing Cheval and attacking with it?
Well, he could still replay it. He's playing enough spells that the Cheval's cheap, but if he Holy Wraths before the Cheval comes down, StrifeCro could win this game.
Okay.
I think we're going to see a kill command come out on this Shimmerfly.
Seems unlikely that's the mistake that Eddie would make.
You play for every out.
It's time to test your metal.
Okay. Eddie,
Step 1.
Bath Banker, and the
Step
Holy
2.
Wrath. The 1-2-3 punch.
There you go. Eddie does take the first game here in this series against
Casual 25 damage.
And he just did everything that he could to slow StrifeCro down throughout that game.
Yep, definitely.
Very successfully as well. The Kangor turn very early. I was a little bit concerned about that because of how vital Kangors can be later on in the game.
You can heal a
But
lot with it.
it worked out so well. Ziliax came down at the ideal time. Shivala came down at the ideal time. Still not sure I like StrifeCro not trading in those 2 minions into the Acolyte. He could have played around Shivala and
I think
Ziliax.
it was very, very unlikely that Eddie wouldn't find any form of healing. There was still a Flash of Light, a timeout, prismatic lenses to help find those. Initially, I did say I would have liked trading them in, but I think after thinking about it for a bit longer, that what StrifeCro did was better just to have the 1/1s on board. Okay. The thing is, with StrifeCro's opening there, he didn't really have that powerful of a start. He did have, I believe, Shimmerfly into Vicious Scale Hide, but after that, he kind of fizzled out and didn't have much follow up. The Dire Frenzy, sure, they're nice if you have no other option, but something like an Animal Companion or something else could have helped a bit more.
Well, both players are going to stick to their primary decks on this occasion, so let's jump into game number 2. Just a little reminder, apologies, that this is StrifeCro's primary deck, what that looks like. Zul'jin, Master's Call, Dire Frenzy, the key cards that we pointed out yesterday. Dire Frenzy did quite a bit of work in the last game. Now we're going to get into the game.
Interesting. I think in practice, we thought StrifeCro might have switched to secondary, where he techs in some Direwolf Alphas, but we felt like that helped a lot on turn 2, 3.
We did, yeah.
But yeah, StrifeCro opting to stay on the main.
The more aggressive start, because there's a big period of time in this matchup where Shivala isn't playable.
Yeah.
And if StrifeCro can deal enough damage before Shivala is playable, then it's much more likely that he gets the win.
Yeah, and then even the Shivala heal isn't enough sometimes. I was playing the Paladin from the Paladin's perspective when I was practicing with Falcone here, and Falcone was just hitting me in the head a lot early, and I had to time out on turn 4 or 5 quite frequently just because of the
like
aggression.
Firebat, I like to go face, okay?
That's how you got to play this matchup. StrifeCro going Coin Master's Call last turn, just get get some stuff to play with the Life Trinker double Unleash the Hounds opening. It's, again, not super aggressive. Eddie's Novice Engineer was able to trade off the Spring Paw, and the Acolyte here is...
He can't even play the Master's Call.
Yeah.
Got too many cards in his hand. So
StrifeCro doesn't want this Acolyte to draw that many cards, but there's no way to deal with this without making it draw at least 2. He's probably going to have to settle for that.
Oh, it's so awkward. All right.
Okay, so StrifeCro taking a... This still allows the Acolyte to draw 2 cards, but what it does is StrifeCro could theoretically run away with this Hyena if Eddie doesn't have something like a Hammer of Wrath or True Silver. And Eddie is running only 1 Hammer of Wrath. Here's a Hammer of Wrath coming out, though, so that Hyena was answered. Acolyte sticks around. Okay, Animal Companion is a way to go now.
This turn's a lot more comfortable. Animal Companion, if it's Leok or Huffer, is able to deal with the Acolyte quite nicely, thanks to the Spring Paw in hand.
Could opt for the Timberwolf Spring Paw Hero Power or Timberwolf Spring Paw Lynx, but I think this is much better. Lets you develop the Animal Companion. And the Timberwolf can be used later with one of your 2 Unleashes if you happen to be able to find a turn to squeeze that in. Get some damage out of him. So the thing is, Eddie's on 10 cards right now. Crystology draws 2, so Eddie could overdraw. And overdrawing exactly the 1 attack minion isn't necessarily the end of the world.
True.
What's funny is that if you play Crystology and you mill a Novice, you're effectively still drawing a card with a Novice. You don't get the 1/1 on board,
That's
but
true.
the tempo doesn't matter from this deck. So if you play the Crystology and mill one of the draw cards, Eddie's like, okay, I don't have to spend 2 mana to draw a card. That seems good for me. But if you hit something like
really
a Crystal...
bizarre. I hadn't thought about it that way.
If you hit something like a Crystal Smith Kangor, suddenly you're like, well, I kind of wanted to pay 2 mana for that.
Yeah.
So Eddie can consider if he's in such a comfortable spot that he wants to just get rid of... Oh, no, he has Kangor in hand. He can just play the Crystology. The issue with that is if you do that, almost all of your cards draw stuff or are pieces you don't want to just throw away. Like, I don't think Eddie wants to just play an Equality this turn to get out of the hand. We do see Crystology being played before anything else. So that's exactly what we're talking about.
I mean, there aren't many other 1 attack minions that could have been.
I like this a lot. Eddie could have played the Pyromancer as well to get something out of his hand. The Blood Mage still cycles a card, so StrifeCro could have milled him. But playing the Banker, Eddie knows that he only needs 1 Holy Wrath to actually, combo to actually deal the blow to StrifeCro, especially with the Elven Archer picked up. So Eddie could do a full 30 damage in 1 turn if he needs to. So there's no necessarily... I mean, it's still useful to have an extra Shrivalo with the Banker, but you don't need to.
Not necessarily. Yeah, exactly. Quite a few options available to StrifeCro this turn. He goes with the Unleash the Hounds. I was wondering about maybe Life Drinker plus the Lynx trades, the Leok trades, the Life Drinker deals some damage. But ultimately, thanks to the Timberwolf, StrifeCro is able to push a lot of damage to the base this turn. Might even leave that Thalnos alive.
Leaving the Thalnos alive means that Consecration would clear the board, and then the Thalnos can trade into the Leok.
Yeah.
Even bumping the Leok means that Consecration doesn't clear the board anymore. So StrifeCro has to decide if he wants the damage face more, or if he wants to kill off the Blood Mage.
It's hard. It's a hard decision. Three damage seems important.
Yep.
Looks like he is thinking about trading.
Repetitive damage is also important.
True. And the Consecration does get drawn.
And the other one.
But anyway, both Consecrations get drawn. So Eddie can go Pyro Consecration, but it wouldn't kill the Leok.
Yep. I'm not a huge fan of playing Pyro Equality, but I think Eddie is just fine doing that. He's cycling a lot, and with the Prismatic Lens in hand and the Christmas Kangor Flash of Light, I think you can afford to just use a clear like this. Because StrifeCro hasn't developed too much. He can kind of make a read on the left hand of StrifeCro's hand, the left part of StrifeCro's hand, because StrifeCro went Coin Master's Call instead of developing something else, like Coin Animal Companion would have been stronger because it pushes more. So Eddie can get a little bit of a read on what those cards aren't, anyways. So clearing is actually good because there's not that much StrifeCro to develop, and if StrifeCro spends 6 mana to develop a 5/5, that's like okay for Eddie. The main thing is, I believe Eddie needs to get cards out of his hand to continue cycling as quick as his hand allows him to.
Yeah, that has seemed to be the problem, actually, for both players this game. Hand size has been a bit of an issue. More so for Eddie now, obviously. to make a decision. Pyromancer going to...
Could still go Pyromancer Consecration and just say, okay, I'll leave a Leok on the board.
It's just a...
Even if an Unleash, yeah, if an Unleash the Beast comes out, it's fine because that can't go face. It's not like an extra damage in the... I think this is fine.
Hounds would be another 2-1.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a big deal, yeah.
Eddie might be concerned that even though he is drawing fairly quickly, if the 2 Shrink Rays happen to be very deep in the deck, and StrifeCro does develop a board, then he might be in a bit of a rut. Also, the Pyro itself still is fighting for board this way.
So Unleash the Beast is allows StrifeCro to clear the board, deal the 2 damage.
Yep.
I was going to question whether Dire Frenzy is worth considering here.
Not yet. I think StrifeCro's hand isn't quite primed to close out the game. He might want to find something like a Zul'jin to be able to heal out of that 30 range, because he's seen that Eddie has played the 1 banker. So if StrifeCro can get up to 30 health, and then throw on the Zul'jin on top of that, well, 35 health, the Holy Wrath combo doesn't actually kill you.
It's like Consecration comes down. So in the last 2 turns, Eddie has used 2 copies of Consecration and a Wild Pyromancer, sitting with Equality in his hand. That could get a little bit awkward later.
Yeah, Shrink Rays don't clear the board, and with stuff like there has been 1 Timberwolf used already, but Timberwolf still buffs 1/1s, right?
So now there's a lot of beasts in StrifeCro's hand. Do you think there's a potential Dire Frenzy target here? Is the Tundra Rhino good enough, or?
The thing with the Tundra Rhino is it's very powerful. The problem is it's a little too slow. Eddie has 11 cards left in his deck, and even with Prismatic Lenses, that number's going to dwindle very quickly. So I think StrifeCro needs to not play Dire Frenzy and find that Zul'jin, because I think that's how he wins this game, knowing that only 1 Holy Wrath can be used to deal 25 anyways.
Eddie can't afford to play the Prismatic Lenses yet because he's played a Baleful Banker. And
oh, if he happens to hit Shervallo. Oh no, he has 1 Holy Wrath left over.
Shrink Ray. If he gets Shrink Ray and Banker.
True.
Oh,
and the banker, it's still fine.
Oh, it's still just about fine. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
But I think what Eddie's doing now is a bit better. There are some cases where you just play from behind and then clear the board. But if you're like, quote unquote, ahead on board, you don't have to use the Shrink Ray, and then you can still afford to play a bit slower. And I think that this is fine. Eddie doesn't need to play the Prismatic Lenses immediately, as long as he plays them before they're useless, right?
It's going to be really tough for StrifeCro to deal the damage that he needs to deal in the space of time in which he needs to deal it.
Definitely, yeah. The only upside from StrifeCro is that he's not, you know, at 18 or 15 health where Holy Wrath's always going to kill him. He's at a comfortable life total where Eddie will need a True Silver Swing, Elven Archer, and Holy Wrath to deal the full 30. I think this play is fine from StrifeCro. There's not a whole lot you can do to... I mean, it's very difficult to clear. You'd have to Scale Hide and then Deadly Shot the...
It happened as well.
That did happen. Maybe was shuffling worse there? I think from StrifeCro's side, he does need Zul'jin to be able to win this game. Eddie's deck isn't something that, oh, you know, sometimes they have the Holy Wrath and it works. It's if they get to the end of the deck, the Holy Wrath will deal 25 damage. So I think StrifeCro needed the Zul'jin. So from that sense, I don't like the Dire Frenzy because it means that Zul'jin is harder to find. If you have Zul'jin, great, go for it. But I think the other thing is, it's kind of difficult because even with the True Silver Charge, the armor left... Okay, never mind. That works.
All right. I was also going to add, obviously, with the True Silver equipped, with the Elven Archer, Shervallo combo, usually that's 30 damage. However, because the Baleful Banker costs 5...
Oh, actually, that's true.
And the Holy Wrath costs 5. I knew it would be relevant in some way, Language Hacker.
There you go. Yeah, you got me
I
there.
get my moment now. Eddie cannot fit the Elven Archer in the turn. So if StrifeCro stays at 30, it's not going to kill him.
Yeah, this is true. The way this game panned out, the 29 for sure is quite not enough. It was not quite enough.
And quite not enough.
Yeah. Okay. Trade first on hero power.
But yeah, Zul'jin being drawn, obviously, as you were just saying.
Okay. StrifeCro is in a much better spot now. Is there a second True Silver left for Eddie?
Wait, second Holy
I believe there is a second...
Second Holy Wrath! The Baleful Banker situation is fine again.
Okay, we're back up to 30. 30 damage in one turn. I wouldn't even hate Eddie playing. I'm not sure about this. I would if Eddie's gonna play Holy Wrath, I want him to play the 5-mana one just to get the extra damage in before Zul'jin can come out. I'm not sure I like this. Perhaps he wants to time out this turn, but I don't think there's a case where StrifeCro can ever deal enough damage, and Eddie still has both timeouts. It technically, I don't think won't matter in the grand scheme of things, but
StrifeCro draws the second Scalehide now.
I think Eddie forgot about this Rat Trap.
Yeah, Eddie, there's something wrong with Eddie at the moment. Like him shaking his head there, something didn't quite go.
It still likely won't matter. However, this was a misstep from Eddie. I don't know why he felt he needed to Shrink Ray there. It technically doesn't matter too much, but playing the expensive Holy Wrath means that you can go, what was it, 2-mana Holy Wrath, Shrivala, Banker, and timeout if you need to for some reason. But semantics.
For the time being, though, Eddie is untouchable with the double timeout in hand. The real question comes down to, can he deal enough damage to win the game? And unfortunately, because StrifeCro has the Zul'jin, he's back up to 30.
I like this.
And because Eddie just played cheap Holy Wrath, the Holy Wrath with the Elven Archer combo.
I actually don't know if StrifeCro was supposed to swing with his minions before playing Zul'jin.
Okay.
There have been no mark shot played, no kill command. Has there been a kill command? I don't believe so. So there's nothing that could kill his own minions, which means that the Dire Frenzy, worst case, doesn't buff the minions you have already. And the Timberwolf could... So StrifeCro missed potentially 3, 4, 5 damage here.
I guess that's just habit. I mean, there's so much for him to be tracking in this game while playing.
That's
the
true.
Shrivala mana cost, the amount of spells you've played.
What's left over for both players.
Yeah,
what needs to draw. It's okay, like a couple of slight technical missteps, but it's not, or not technical, what's the word? Order missteps, but none of these are too impactful to kind of break the overarching game plan that both players have.
The second True Silver Champion is important because now, once again, Eddie finds himself with the damage he needs to win the game next turn.
Yep, and the timeout ensures that StrifeCro will not be able to heal. Second Rat Trap activated. Will not be able to heal up to 31.
Is there any way whatsoever this Vicious Scalehide can do something? There's nothing he can do to summon a minion on the other side of the board. Nothing he can do to make it attack one of his own minions. I don't think there's anything.
Nope, nothing that could be generated randomly, I believe.
And no way of generating anything randomly.
What I gonna do with you?
I don't know, Zul'jin. What are you gonna do?
I'm looking down this list. Maybe there's something that works. Life Drinker doesn't actually get the heal off because of the timeout.
Shimmerfly? Anything from Shimmerfly. Tracking into Shimmerfly, into kill command your own Shimmerfly. Is there anything there?
I found it.
Yeah.
Misdirection from Shimmerfly. Could
Oh,
stop
the
the True Silver
yeah,
swing.
Okay.
It's still enough because Eddie has saved the Sylvan Archer, the ever so important 1 extra damage. So even if StrifeCro got Misdirection.
He can't play it. He doesn't have the mana. Baleful Banker, it costs 5. Holy Wrath costs 5.
Oh, okay. Misdirection could save StrifeCro here.
Yeah.
I don't think he can kill off enough of his board to get to it, though, is the problem.
Oh, yeah. The Rat Trap actually filled up his board.
So he can kill command something, then go Shimmerfly, hero power it, and then find either Misdirection or Secret Secret Trap, or what's it called? Secret Plan.
He has to play Tracking to draw it as well.
He has it in his hand. The Shimmerfly's in his hand.
Oh, sorry. It's right there. Okay, yeah, okay.
So we did... This is the...
Mark shot works too. Okay, that's much easier, actually.
Secret Plan? You need some Misdirection? No, the Misdirection's...
No! StrifeCro!
And this is the kind of... Okay, I was saying the technical misplay wouldn't have mattered. If Eddie had played the 2-mana Holy Wrath instead of the 5-mana Holy Wrath, he could have played around this exact board state where exactly Misdirection from Secret Plan for Mark Shot could have come up. And I know that sounds very, very excessive and crazy, but this is kind of what the optimization can help you do. It gives you, instead of 95% win rate, can give you 100% win rate.
You know what, Language Hacker? I think we saw the lines there. But Eddie also did see the lines. Ultimately, he takes the series with a very clean 2-0 victory against StrifeCro with his Beast Hunter. And it's cool to see OTK Paladin doing so well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like we saw in Frozen's review, he pointed out that Eddie managed to dodge some of the scarier matchups for the deck with something like Warrior, but Eddie happened to hit the Beast Hunter, which we thought was a little even in practice, but Eddie piling it pretty well and is able to take that win over StrifeCro's deck.
Yeah, really exciting series all the way through. I am surprised with how it ended up. You know, neither player switching to the secondary. Again, we talked a little bit about maybe how StrifeCro, maybe his secondary deck could have been better suited. We won't be able to ask him, unfortunately, as he didn't win. But there are a few things we had with StrifeCro's performance in that game, which we'll, I'm sure, will work out someday. But
the
for
thing
now,
is, StrifeCro could also be seeing some lines that we haven't thought of too.
True.
I mean, StrifeCro has he's a very analytical player, and
Yep.
it's very possible he had some line that we hadn't considered.
For now, though, we are going to have a talk with Eddie, who won the series very cleanly with OTK Paladin. Congratulations, Eddie. That was a fantastic series. I've got to ask straight up, what made you decide to bring OTK Paladin this week?
Mainly because my opponent is Muzzy and StrifeCro this week.
Okay.
So I realized that there's a really high chance Muzzy would go for a mage, which he really did. And StrifeCro range of decks are just really broad, so I didn't really consider. I think he could bring anything. He could bring Rogue, he could bring Mage, he could bring... I just don't think either of them would bring Bomber Warrior. So I think OTK Paladin is a really good choice if there's no Bomb Warrior.
Very rewarded for that.
Yeah, that makes sense quite a bit. Was the meta from Las Vegas influencing any of your decisions at all in terms of tech cards, sideboards, or whatever you wanted to bring, or was it just based off of your opponent's past performances in Grandmasters?
I definitely think that Vegas had a bit of influence. I played against a player called Techno Boost. He brought OTK Paladin, and I brought Bomb Warrior, of course, and he crushed me, even though it's such a favorable matchup.
Oh, wow.
And after Vegas, I was already planning for this week GM, and I messaged him and tell him to tell me all the tricks. And he was a really nice guy, and he told me, and I know it probably could bring this week, so I stick to it, and they got rewarded.
Well, looks like it paid off so far, yeah.
It definitely did pay off. Now, Eddie, you must be getting pretty comfortable sitting at the top of the leaderboard for your division, but it looks like Frozen is coming, he's gunning for your spot. What do you have to say about that?
I didn't get to finish the last series. I didn't know if he would win or not, but Frozen is a very strong player, and honestly, I just have to keep winning.
You do have to
Just
keep winning.
yeah.
That is the name of the game. Thank you very much, Eddie. Congratulations one more time. We'll see you again later this week.
Thank you.
Just keep winning. What is it with Hearthstone players and winning?
That's how, I mean, that's what denotes strong players, right? Winning consistently. Just keep winning. People say it ironically, but it's also...
It's just how you roll. You know, some of us like to lose sometimes.
Well, you learn a lot by losing.
That's-
In games where you win, it might not always be easy to find, oh, what could I have done differently and stuff like that. But in games where you lose, if you go back and look over them, it's very easy to find out this might have been the turning point, or this was a kind of thing I did wrong or could have played differently. So losing can help too.
I was kidding. Nobody likes to lose.
Oh, well, nobody likes
We're
to.
just no good at winning. Coming up, we have 2 more series today. We're going to have Amnesiac versus Muzzy up next. Plenty more Hearthstone Grandmasters coming up this weekend. We'll see you soon.